Good morning and welcome to the 9:30 call. We're glad to be here today. We're glad to have the opportunity for a follow-up call from our December call with the folks from Mount Wachusett Community College. So we're so glad to have Ann Reynolds today, and she will introduce Sara as well, and we'll hear more from Sara about her experience as a student parent. So Ann, I'll turn things over to you. I'll put the link in chat from your last call so folks can check that out for context, but we'd love for you to tell us a little bit about you and your role, and then we look forward to hearing from Sara.
Okay, well, I'm excited to be asked back. That was really very good. And I always love talking about student parents and the work that we're doing at Mount Wachusett. So how I got into the work I shared before, some of you may remember, I kind of fell into it. I didn't really know this population really existed, even though I was a student parent myself. I started in 2014 at Mount Wachusett Community College after I had finished my bachelor's at Assumption and my associates at Mount Wachusett Community College. So I was a student parent, and then I was able to work part-time at first and then went over to finish my master's still at Assumption. And I first started working through a grant called C Campus. Childcare Access Means Parents in School. And that is a federal grant that really helps pay a portion of a eligible student parent's costs to the child care provider direct. And I see some familiar names here that I have worked with over that grant. And then we did a deep dive in 2018 and discovered the needs of many student parents, and our student parent numbers have greatly increased through the grants that Michelle shared with you last time we were on the call. So I fell into the work. I love the work and I have great passion for it. And honestly, I'm not just saying this because Sara's in the room, but with Sara joining, and she will share how she joined and fell into this work, we really have grown it immensely, and we have a vision. She has a vision. I got to let her go at some point because she's going off for her bachelor's, but I hope she comes back and continues to grow this
Good
work.
morning and welcome. Wonderful.
So Sara.
Hello, I'm Sara. I am a early childhood education for exceptional children major at Mount Wachusett Community College, and I'm also a parenting student. So I take care of a little one. And I am extremely passionate about children development and children education. I really don't think a child can succeed without the parent having everything they need to succeed too. I really think it's a two-generational thing, and that's kind of how I fell into this. I met with Ann Reynolds, and I was going to an event, and she told me about the Family Resource Center, so I went up there. I went to the event. It was a no-sew blanket event. Me and my silly bean, my stepdaughter, we went to this, and we had a great time, and I loved the fact that there was somewhere on campus for us to be that didn't feel like we weren't welcome. We felt completely welcome in the space, and she felt good. I felt good. It was such an incredible experience. It changed the way I looked at the campus. So,
And were you already a student at this point, or so you were
brand
brand new? Okay.
brand new student. This was like maybe my second time on campus because I was taking mostly online classes at this point.
Okay.
It was right during COVID, well, right after COVID.
Yep.
So it was very little people on campus. I was very
Right.
new to school. I haven't gone to school in years before this. So this was really my first experience back in the field of education, really, for myself and for my daughter too, because she has never, at this point, she was 3 years old, 4 years old, never been to any type of educational setting. So the fact that we were able to go to this center and experience this welcomeness on the school campus was really incredible. So that led me to
And
being
can you
a
just tell us a little bit more, like how did you choose Mount Wachusett? Why did you want to do
yeah.
your major?
Absolutely. So I chose Mount Wachusett Community College because it was so close to me at the time. I really had no idea about the supports they had for parents, the
Right.
supports for people who are on disability because I was at the time. So I had no idea about any types of supports. So it was just really close. It was convenient.
Right.
So when I did end up finding about all these supports, I was just astonished. I was so amazed, and it really changed the way I saw it because I had attended another community college before this, and I
Okay.
didn't really have any luck. That wasn't the major I was supposed to be in. It wasn't my passion. I was going for environmental science, and I liked it, but starting to teach my silly bean about education, trying to teach her about life and all these things she needs to know about as a child, it sparked a passion inside of me to go back to school.
Great.
So I chose the Early Childhood Education for Exceptional Children program at the Mount. It was a career track program. I really wanted to get into ABA, occupational therapy at the time, and that was really where my heart was. And when I started as a student, I found out about the Child Watch and how you could be a work study.
Uh-huh.
So I decided to be a work study. I needed to make a little bit extra income. I
Yep.
want to get off disability. I want to get back out there in the field. So it gave me an opportunity to really experience work again, experience school, give my child somewhere safe to be with me,
Right.
because I was her full-time caregiver at the time. So she wasn't going to school and father worked. So it was a lot. It
Yeah.
was a lot
It's
to
a lot.
handle. And when I started as a work study, I found Reynolds. I was looking for work studies and I tried to get into the Garrison Center, but it was so full at the time that they suggested I try the Family Resource Center. So I reached out to Reynolds and I found a spot as a child watch in the Family Resource Center. And it sparked a new passion inside of me. I realized that it's not just about these children and their education. That's super important, but how can we expect children to succeed if they're hungry at home? If their parents don't have the means for housing, any type of fuel assistance, if they're hungry, how are we supposed to expect children to succeed if their parents don't have the tools for the whole to succeed? And I
Right.
really learned that in this setting by working with these student parents. I was working one on one, I was helping them fill out fuel assistance forms, housing raft applications. I really got really, really close with these student parents and their families, not just their children. I
Right.
might be able to remember the children's names a little bit better than the parents' names,
Right.
but I know these families and I know what they need. And it really sparked this passion for the child watch in a whole. So I wanted to see it be bigger because I saw the need. I saw how much it was needed. I saw how much it was helping these parents. So many parents came up to me and were like, "We wouldn't have been able to graduate if it wasn't for you in this center." And that impacted me incredibly. So it kind of changed my route of education. I originally started with occupational therapy,
Mm-hmm.
ABA, and it's been 4 years since I started at the Mount,
Yep.
and at this point, I wanna get into family advocacy. I wanna really work on trying to help the whole of the family because in the classroom, I can only do so much for the child, but when I'm working with the whole of the family, there's so much more I can do for them, and I value education more than anything.
Sure.
I love education. Early childhood education is my passion, and I think there's such a beautiful mix, and this is how I'm going to explain our child watch a little bit is because it's the way I'm thinking with my education. I have to have early education, early childhood education, because I want to know about development. I want to know these incredibly important things that make a child's development in later years in life. But I think it's really, really important for myself that I know about the families too. So, family studies, that research stuff. And when we look at the child watch as a whole, I have such big dreams for it. I think the Child Watch should really be at every college, not just community colleges,
Right,
every single college, because it helps families so much. It helped me. I wouldn't be graduating this semester if it wasn't for the Child Watch.
right.
I wouldn't be where I am without it. So it's
There, we are
different.
your people and you are us. I think it's can you talk a little bit about how kind of your experience, because we also think about hands-on learning, experiential learning, like the opportunity to have your work study be at the Child Watch is also incredible. When I was an undergrad, my work study was at the the early education centers on campus too. And that's also another piece, I think, to have these programs on campus, not just for the people who need childcare, but for for the students who are kind of kind of seeing the same age people all the time. So to have a early childhood program is so important. Can you talk about like what you were learning in classes and how you saw it playing out? And I would also love to know what other classes do you think should be part of an early childhood person's experience in higher ed?
These are great questions. So, I took everything I learned in these classes and I put it into the Child Watch. So that was a big thing for me, implementing what I learned, because that's how I learn best, is hands-on, making it work. And a lot of my classes at first were online. So those beginning classes, I
Yeah,
really, really, really made sure to take what I learned and put it in the classroom. So an example, how to lay your classroom out. That was one of the first classes I took. I think it was Early Childhood Education 101,
yep,
laying out the classroom, and it was a great lesson, but it was online and I couldn't get handsy. I didn't really see where the toys needed to go. I couldn't visualize how I couldn't see over certain things and how I need
right,
to position myself within the room, zoning the room. I could read these things and I know these things, but I
right,
couldn't make it play out with my brain. I'm very hands-on. I need to see things in action.
right.
So, the fact that we had work studies and the fact that we had a team with us that we could practice these even without children. We had very few children at first. So
Right,
we were able to move the room around, me and the early childhood majors and even the non-childhood majors. We taught them. We
right,
basically taught ourselves by teaching them too. So it was kind of like when a nursing student quizzes themselves with other
right,
nursing students. We were working our major into our setting. So we would lay out the room, we would move it around all the time, move the toys around. We would really talk to each other about how this works, zoning, where we need to lay ourselves out into the room. Um, Another thing that we really took into fact was safety. So big safety. So what toys are too big? What toys are too little? We've got one of those, I can never remember the name of it, but you basically check the toy
right.
to
If
make
somebody
sure
would
that
choke on it.
they
Yep,
don't choke on it. So that's something we taught our child watch major our non-child watch majors.
right.
So we really take what we're learning in the room and we're applying it in the classroom. And that goes for things we're kind of teaching ourselves too. And I want to
Yep,
bridge this into what I think we need to teach, and that's American Sign Language. So in this room, I have learned that so many children don't actually get early intervention. Their parents aren't sure if they need early intervention. They don't have early childhood centers in their life to tell them that, hey, you might want to, check your milestones and see if your child talked to a provider and all of these things. So using sign language was such a huge tool for me. I thankfully knew sign language with my experience with my stepdaughter who is nonverbal. We learned language pretty early on. It was a few simple signs, but it grew for me. And utilizing that within the room was such a huge tool. We were able to teach parents different signs. We were
right.
able to teach the kids, and the kids were able to communicate with us. So it made a huge difference.
Sure.
And if I truly believe that if every student took American Sign Language, that we could bridge some type of communication gap somewhere with a lot of students, not even just students, but a lot of children in our care.
And then, Anne, if you have any other questions too, let me
I
know.
yeah, I'm sorry, I lost connection. I
I
had to
saw, but
go to
welcome
a
back.
different area. Yeah, thank you. So I missed a lot of what Sarah said, but I feel confident that she
You
filled
did
you in a
great.
lot. She did great. I feel like I would like to add a couple of things, which basically when when I see the difference in meeting Sarah in the hallways with her little bean, as she silly bean that she calls, um I can remember the first day clearly, and she has come leaps and bounds. She walked on like I see many student parents walk on campus, like they don't belong there. And especially their children, they sometimes do not. Very different now, but they do not bring their children to campus. But now on Mount Wachusett, we see 7 or 8 strollers outside a classroom. We see children walking and having lunch with their parents. So when Sarah first connected with me, she brought the early childhood education piece that I do not have, and she
Right,
was learning it in the classroom. And I connected with a couple of the professors as well. However, I kept saying to these students, we're a child watch. We are, I introduced her to the 2 generation approach. I introduced them all to the bigger need out there to be focused on the whole family. So we safety first for the child in the room, 100%. We try to get them as much as we can sustainable childcare when we can. But I keep telling them, and Sarah gets it now. She's definitely got it, and she goes with it, and she understands this. It's changed her track, her education track. So it's really, if we look after the student parent, we keep the child safe, keep them
yep,
entertained. If we look after the student parent, then they are going to be successful. They're going to change their social economic situation, and their children are going to be successful. The children will more likely go to preschool, will more likely have a successful education track. So that is what I stress to the students. But what I do see a huge piece of this, and Sarah touched on this, but it's peer mentoring, and it's
yeah,
happening organically. And like I've said before, I don't look like our students. I look like some of them because we do have some older students returning, but I'm white. I'm a white woman. I have privilege. I am aware of that. So it's hard for many of our students to relate to me. But when they go into the child watch and they hear Janelette speaking Spanish to the children, and they understand because Sarah is talking openly about her once being on disability
right,
and coming out of that poverty track and disability. So they can relate, and that happens beautifully. And then like Sarah will say to the students, obviously they're not solving every problem up in the room. So there's serious problems they send down to me, and they
sure.
encourage the students to go and speak to me. And then I think that's when the bonds are built. But it's a wonderful thing, and it's more than I ever thought would occur in that space.
Right. And Sarah, so in the chat, there's a lot of discussion and want for the choke tube. So you certainly have inspired that. And also, I've asked folks to show some love and appreciation in the chat. Sarah, as you were talking, I was thinking, just when we think about the field in general and how we need people who are coming into this field, who are passionate about it,
Mm.
who kind of appreciate child development. And you talked about family advocacy. So can you tell us a little bit more about what that means to you, how you've seen it play out, and how we can help you?
Okay, I'll start off with I have no idea how you can help me. Just be that support
Well,
system, egg me on. But I think family advocacy is so much more than just that word. So when you think about family advocacy, you're not just advocating for the parents, you're advocating for the children, you're advocating for their needs, their education, their home life, you're advocating for really their well-being, the things they deserve as humans. We're all humans, we have one heart, and we really just deserve equitable education. We deserve equitable lives. We
yep,
deserve to have the things we need. Um, and I love children. I love families. It was a very dynamic situation with my stepdaughter. So being able to teach her that going to school is fun and all of these things, I was able to be a huge support system
Yeah.
for her. So I want to be a support system for other families. I don't know what that looks like just now. I don't
Yeah.
know where that's going to lead me.
Yep.
My path has changed so many times, but I do know that I want to support families who are in hardship, not just the parents, but the children too, because I do think of it as a whole. And education is so important to me. So maybe that looks like I'm gosh, I've like 50 million things running through my head for that. But
Well,
I
even the way you've talked about how you are just listen. So what also do you hear from other families who you or parents who you're working with? What are their, I mean, I'm sure they have similar things they're thinking about, but what else do you hear from? Because you're kind of one-on-one on the ground with them. What are they saying?
um about what, my situation or
No, just
their
about like the support that they're getting
okay.
at.
So I hear so much about the support they're getting. So I think of one parent in particular. She graduated last semester, and she, well, not last semester, last year.
Yep.
And during the graduation ceremony, it was just her son in the audience. And her son was with me in the child watch, and he was so ecstatic. Like, this was, he had a hard time in school, but when
Mhm.
he was with us, he learned that it is fun to learn. It is fun. It can be fun. And, we were there for him in so many different ways. We were there for him emotionally, supportively. We were there for the parent emotionally and educationally. So at this graduation, the parent looked at us and was like, "This is absolutely incredible. I would not have graduated if it
Right.
was not for you and, Angelina and the other Child Watch members." This child was so ecstatic when he saw his mom cross the stage. Her name was called, and he was screaming, "That's my mom. You
Ah,
got this, mom." And it was just the most heart touching moment in the world because not only did I see the parents' gratitude, but I saw this child just blown away that their parent walked across the stage. That child doesn't fully know what just happened.
right.
They don't fully comprehend of what exactly just happened, but guess what? They're gonna do that one day too. They saw
Right.
their mom do it, and they are so proud of their mom, and they're gonna do that one day too. I know it in my heart, and that's what I see with all these people. I see parents working their butts off to show their children that they can do this too. So many of
Yeah.
these parents came back from sabbaticals of not being in education, raising their
Right.
children, and now they're back, so these parents are working hard and they're guilty, they feel bad, but I keep telling them that every time you leave this classroom, your child says, "My mom's in class. She'll be back soon, and we're gonna have some fun." And that's right.
That's right.
You
I
are.
mean, it's hard for adults to go back to school, kind of no matter your circumstance. And as Anne said in chat, there are so many barriers, even the feeling of belonging, feeling welcomed. So have you felt that shift on campus about,
Oh, incredibly. Like Anne was talking about, when I first showed up on campus, it's kinda like that field mouse that would just run away all the time. And it was scary, it was frightening. Whenever I had my child with me, I felt like I was looked at differently. I felt like we had to be like, we couldn't talk in the hallways.
right,
But let me tell you, she she runs the campus now. When she walks these hallways, she stands tall just like me. She acts confident and she talks to people. She's like, "Hi, how are you?" And they talk back. It's such a welcoming environment now. Even the big games in the common, we go play those sometimes, and we feel like we actually can now. When
right,
I first showed up, I felt like that was just for traditional students. I don't belong in that area. My child does not belong in that area. But
right.
now I feel like we do,
Yeah,
because I felt that shift on campus, not just with the faculty, but with students too. They're
right,
so much more welcoming. They make smiles and happy faces, and they want to play with her too, and they want to get engaged in the chessboard with her. And it's just such an incredible experience, not just for me. Like, I want to really, really exaggerate that. Like, it is amazing to feel welcomed on campus, but the
absolutely.
fact that she feels welcomed with me
Right.
just makes the difference for me.
Incredible. Here at 9:58, and any other closing thoughts? And then Sarah, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah,
But anything else?
I would just say that if you are working on a childcare campus, sorry, on a campus, college campus, everybody needs to be seen and to feel like they belong, right? So visibility is key. Encourage the student parents to be on campus with their children, create a space where they feel safe, create programs that will help them with car repairs, food supplies, diapers, clothing, and above all, childcare, but try to help them as much as you can to get sustainable childcare. But if you can
Right.
create a drop-in, I mean, we've like I said in our last meeting, we have been building the plane in the air. We are still building the plane in the air, but we are really creating a blueprint. Yeah,
And
and it's the students that we're doing it for.
that's right.
Yeah.
And thank you so much. And Sarah, as you said when you kind of started, that you wish that every college had this. So if you could talk to a legislator or a policymaker right now, what would you want them to know?
I would want time to say this in a much more organized manner, but I would want them to know that if we apply these child watch programs to campuses, we're going to see retention rates go up. We're going to see GPAs go up. We're going to see parents going back to school. We're going to see a whole market of people go back and get their lives on track the way they desired, the way they dreamed. We're going to see morality go up. We're going to see so many different things go up within families. And if we give families the villages and the support they need, we're going to see people come out of terrible situations. We're going to see people come out of poverty, maybe not entirely, but we're going to give them the tools they need to do it.
Sarah, I don't think you need any more time or any more organization. I think you nailed it. I think any policymaker listening to that, and just kind of like all the benefits that come along for the child, for the family, but as you said, for retention rates, for kind of recruitment, for making things seem possible. We talk a lot about on this call about what could be. So what could be, imagining a world where families and children feel supported and loved and welcomed on college campuses. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure your time is busy. We wish you all the best in your graduation and whatever comes next. But please do keep in touch with us and let us know how we can help you. Keep coming to the 9:30 call. You can meet different players as you continue on your journey. And just thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, we'll see. With today's Wednesday, so we will see everyone tomorrow for the 9:30 call. See you then. I'll send you the chat too.
Okay, thank you. I was just reading through that.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for this opportunity again. Thank
Sure.
you.
All right, take care.
You too.